What do you feel were some of your, I don't know, I guess revelations, insights? Like you went from credit union to broker. Why don't you talk a little bit about like the impact that's made in your life? I mean, just that alone, I think would be an interesting starting point to kind of orbit around.
Yeah, totally. So I think sometimes we get caught up in we want structure but don't want structure.
Yeah.
And every entrepreneur is that way. And I'm one that actually has like almost Rob Dyrdek type calendar in the back. Like I gotta hit X, Y, and Z by this time and try to be as efficient as I can because I am a husband, a father, and
Yeah.
a golfer and all these other things, right? But what I noticed was the credit union was trying to fit me into their mold. And when you start to grow and start reaching, I don't know, levels that you've never reached before, you start feeling like you want to be around people like yourself and McBilly that are, heck, you guys just went on a coaching tour for like, what, 2 weeks? Because
Yeah, it's like a month. We went from we had the
yeah,
Stake of the Union, which is like a small, intimate mastermind we have with some of our friends where we literally just go, we meet quarterly in different random cities. Used to be across the United States, but we're actually planning for one to Tokyo. But the whole concept of it is around just we go places where we could just by day mastermind and by night eat really expensive beef. So that's why we actually want to go to Tokyo, is because we actually want to choose the cow.
right.
And get some Wagyu. Yeah. It was a wild story. But
That's huge
that's,
though. When you're in sales, like if you're not around like-minded people that are like pushing and leveling up all the time and like lifting where they stand and say, "Hey, come follow me," instead of like coddling you,
yeah,
that that starts to get old, man. Like you want to hit
yeah.
big marks, and the only way to do that is to be around people that are willing to get uncomfortable every day.
I mean, I feel it. Yeah. So we went from that one. We went we went to Ohio to meet with Dan Kennedy for a day working on Good Vibe Squad, who's like one of my main mentors. For a long time. And then we went to Mexico to spend a week with Russell Brunson in the Inner Circle, which is his mastermind that we're in. So yeah, it's been a month of just like I have never had so much clarity. I've never been like, okay, time to work because there's so much shit in my head right now,
Right.
So
Yeah, love it, dude. That's sick.
yeah, yeah.
What are your
So
top two takeaways?
oh man, top
They don't. You could probably elaborate, but top two. Everyone says top three, but what's top two?
yeah, top two. So it's interesting. We had a lot to marinate on. So actually, the series of the three felt like a really solid order, and it was just a really really. I'm grateful that there was such proximity between all of those events, because I felt like the insights that we had from the Stake of the Union became more polished, and we peeled more layers off when we met with Dan Kennedy for the day. And then we got back. We had one day in between Ohio and Mexico, and so we were really fresh off the Dan Kennedy stuff. And then we went into Russell's world for a week and just met with all these entrepreneurs that are doing anywhere between like 3 million for the most part, up to like 500 million a year. And so it's like just spending time in that environment just continued to morph these thoughts in a really beautiful way. So by the end of it, I think part of it was the first thing is stop playing small. We met with we had a really intimate session with an author, Benjamin Hardy,
Yeah,
who
awesome.
he co-authored a book. Well, it's coming out, but by the time we're recording this in April, it comes out next month. But it's actually a really good book. I'm 100 pages into it. It's mind blowing. It's called 10x is easier than 2x. It's by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. Phenomenal read so far. They co-authored The Gap and the Gain, Who Not How. Benjamin Hardy.
That changed my life.
Isn't that a good book?
Oh my gosh! Like in the mortgage industry, everybody went totally to the gap, and you read that book and you're like, "Shut up, get to the game, stop being a little bit, and like get to work." Be grateful for what you have. Get some momentum and just go. And I was like, dude, this book is sick.
Yeah, no, The Gap in the Gain was transformative. Yeah. So 10x is easier than 2x is like Gap in the Gain on steroids and like meth. It's a whole nother level of Gap in the Gain. And one of the cool things about it, I think this was also, I think McBee and I both feel the same way about this, was the idea of 10x is easier than 2x was empowering because, to go 2x is linear, right? So what he talks about is to go 2x, you hang on to about 80% of what you know and believe currently, and you have to change about 20% of what you know and believe. But it's incremental gains. That's linear growth. It's not that hard to do 2x conceptually, but it's actually harder to implement because there's thousands of ways to get to 10x or to 2x, but there's very limited ways to 10x something, right? And so he uses this example of his son Caleb, who is a tennis player, and he was at one of his son's coaching sessions because he's trying to get the reason he has a coach is he's trying to get a scholarship to go to college to play tennis. It's just a plenty fine goal, right? But his coach asked him during one session, and he said, "Hey, Caleb, have you ever thought about going pro?" And Caleb's like, "No, not really. I just want to get to college." So on the ride home, Ben asked Caleb, he said, "Have you thought anything more about what your coach said?" And he went, "I don't know, not really." He goes, "Well, would you like to go pro? Like, do you think that'd be a fun life for you?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think so." And so they started talking more about it. And he was like, where we live in Orlando, there's probably, over 1,000 coaches that can pretty easily help my son get into college to play tennis. He said, but if we shift the goal to pro, right? If we go that high, there's probably less than 5 coaches that can actually help us do that. And that's assuming we need one coach. We'd probably need more than one coach. And so just by shifting the where we headed changes what we do to get there, right? And so he's like, to go pro, you have to be willing to let go of 80% of what you're doing. And there's probably 20% of what you're already doing now that works and you should keep doing. But you have to be willing to let go of most of what you know and go through the uncomfortable hero's journey of becoming this person that can be pro. Whereas if you just want to go to college, you just got to change 20%. You're already 80% there. That's fine. And this incremental changes will get you there. And so it was a really cool thing. And it made McBee and I kind of look at even Good Vibes Squad and go, we're kind of linearly growing. I mean, we've done a lot of cool things, and I'm pretty open about this. We do about 5 million in revenue, and our goal was 10 million, which is literally 2x. And then we started going, what do we want? What's the real goal here, right? Instead of arbitrarily setting a money number that based on just the progression, it's like, what are we really after? So we got some new goals, which I think is really exciting. And so that was really I would say the main set of takeaways from that was just the orbiting around the 10x.
That speaks to me like huge right now, because going out on my own, I've actually went ahead and hired you guys, which is not only leads, but also coaching. I've also I'm a 5 handicap golfer, right? And I'm just tired of just being there. I want to elevate and just get down to scratch because I want to. So I hired a golf coach, right? And that's so relatable because there's things that we do that we think we can fix, but the moment you hire someone in from the outside, they see something this small that can change the impact, especially in a golf swing, right? You can change 80%, going to your analogy, within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was worth every single penny paying him to do that. And I've done that with all my short form, videos and trying to pump out, YouTube content. I went and hired a video guy, even though I have a background in it. That's not worth my time. It's worth going and hire someone that is fluid and an expert and that is on top of things, where my time is, cool, I show up for an hour. I've thought through all my content. Let's buzz through this. And he cranks it all out for me. And then I go back to being a loan officer, husband, a father. It's prioritizing your time is
it's great.
It's huge, but it's a hard lesson learned. Here I am almost turning 36 next month. And 10 years ago, I would have been dude, I got this. It's all on me. Yeah. Now it's I'm willing to write a check for someone to actually elevate me 10x instead of double my business.
Well, and I think it goes back to the concept of, would you rather have a small piece of a big pie or a big piece of a small pie, and that's kind of there's a certain point where the pie is what the pie is, unless you're willing to chop it up, It gets harder to make the pie bigger the bigger the pie gets, right? And so there's a certain level where, you could, and if your goal is I just want small, lean, I don't want a team, I just, it's okay, great. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think the biggest thing from that session with Benjamin was knowing what you really want, right? Because there are people that want for the right reasons to keep something small. Cool. There are people that for the right reasons want something big, right? And everything in between. And it's as long as you know the why. I was talking about this on my Peak Performers call in our Lendsetter membership the other day, and I was talking about beliefs and standards, right? Because the desire for the call actually and the intent for the call because we have a few people in the program, especially in California. I'm very transparent about this because I think it's a healthy discussion, that are saying that it's, well, there's been a variety of forms it's taken. The idea is that, one thing that was brought up, and these are beliefs and judgments, right? But one thing that was brought up is that people that can qualify for homes in California aren't on Facebook. And it's like, okay, well, there's no data to back that up, first of all. But secondly, it's like, we're not selling Lamborghinis, guys. Let's reel this in a little bit. Everybody, first of all, damn near is on Facebook. And secondly, everybody needs shelter. If you overlay those two things together, let's chill, It's like, but that's the idea of beliefs, right? It's like, I've just learned in this business, whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right. But that doesn't just go to the what you want. It also applies to the how. If you believe you can grow a business with direct response marketing, direct to consumer marketing, if you believe you can grow a business through paid traffic, client acquisition strategies, then you're right. If you believe you can't, you're right. Right. So not only does whether you believe you can or you can't for the outcome apply, it also applies to the method in which we get there. Right. And that's actually one of the cool things I respect about you is, you came from being primarily referral based, even though you had a marketing background, and now you're doing video. You're paying somebody to do a lot of the editing and stuff for you, even though that's a skill you have, because your goal is to scale and grow, smaller piece of a bigger pie. And even with that, and you already had success, you still chose to hire us to help you build out that, what we call the mortgage freedom flywheel, or if you want to just simplify it down to a direct to consumer system that helps you build new relationships. So I think
that comes with clarity, right? Like, you got to have a vision, you got to have your why, you got to have of who the freak you are, like what you really want. Like, my goal is to make 100 million, right? Or 100 million in volume. And I knew that I could do that at the last place. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to go put systems in place to, one, keep myself accountable, but two, that I can scale. Because at the end of the day, time is time. And if you can't use your time correctly, or the way it should be, you're not going to go anywhere.